The corridors of the Galactic Interspecies Academy were unnervingly quiet. Every sound, each footstep, breath, or flick of a tail, was swallowed by the sterile alloy walls glowing under white-blue light. Mira Hale walked alone through that silence, the faint hum of the oxygen conduits steady in her ears. To the aliens around her, this stillness meant discipline. To her, it felt like suffocation disguised as order. Varex 9's orbital academy floated above a pale gas giant, a citadel of glass and gravity control where hundreds of species studied diplomacy, science, and controlled aggression. The council called it a monument to unity. Mira thought it looked more like a cage polished to perfection. Even the stars beyond the transparent halls seemed dulled by the atmospheric filters. Her cadet uniform, matte black with a single silver insignia marked Terran Exchange Cadet, stood out like a scar among the bright silks and scale armor of other students. Conversation stopped as she passed. A few alien eyes followed her openly, measuring, curious, or cautious. They all knew what she was, a representative of the newest, least trusted member species. A human, a creature from a Deathworld. She entered the lecture chamber. It was tiered like an amphitheater, curved around a central hollow dais where anatomical projections floated in soft light. Instructor Veldar, a tall, crystalline being whose inner veins pulsed with blue bioluminescence, stood at the center. Cadets, the instructor intoned, his translator giving each syllable a cold resonance. Today we analyze the biology of the most volatile known sentient organism, Homo sapiens terra. Dozens of heads turned. Mira kept her posture straight, hands folded on the desk. A full-scale hologram of a human nervous system materialized. Spinal cord, synapses, red-gold strands alive with electric motion. "Observe," Veldar said. "The excess of adrenal regulators, the erratic pain response, the unstable emotional cortex. Such imbalance explains their violent evolutionary path." The room rippled with low chatter. One cadet raised a scaled arm. "Instructor," he said smoothly, "if instability breeds such endurance, why has their world not destroyed them?" Veldar replied, "Because extinction does not always arrive quickly enough." Laughter shimmered through the hall. Mira stayed silent, watching the holographic heart pulse like a tiny star. Then a new voice cut through the noise, mocking, confident. "Instructor, if I may add," said a crimson-scaled Zephyri cadet rising from his seat. His slitted gold eyes gleamed with arrogance. "The Terran's survival proves only that chaos occasionally breeds monsters." Veldar inclined his head. "Cadet Taral, an interesting hypothesis." Taral smirked and looked straight at Mira. "Perhaps we could test it." She met his stare without flinching. "Define monster," she said quietly. The translator hesitated, trying to preserve her tone. The silence that followed was sharp. Veldar cleared his throat. "Enough philosophy. Tomorrow we begin the reflex comparison trial. Cadet Hale, Cadet Taral, you will represent your respective species." The Zephyri grinned, rows of small teeth catching the light. "If she still has the courage to appear." Mira gathered her datapad. "If courage is required, I'll bring extra," she answered, voice calm but edged. A few cadets hissed in amusement. Others shifted uneasily. After dismissal, the corridors filled with echoing footsteps and the hum of xeno-languages. Mira walked toward her dormitory when she heard the scrape of talons behind her. Taral's reflection appeared in the window glass beside hers. "Tell me, human," he said softly, "what does it feel like knowing everyone here fears what you might do if you lose control?" She looked at his reflection instead of turning. "Safer than trusting those who'd enjoy seeing it," he chuckled. "You pretend serenity, but your world forged you through violence. It's in your cells," she faced him. "Maybe, but violence isn't madness. It's memory." For a heartbeat, neither moved. Then his tail flicked once, a sign of irritation. "Tomorrow," he said, "we'll see what memory is worth." "Tomorrow," she agreed, and walked away. Her dorm pod was small and white, a sealed cube overlooking the planet's swirling atmosphere. She activated the privacy field. The noise outside vanished. Sitting at the desk, she dictated her log in a soft voice. "Day 47, Same pattern: observation, testing, condescension. They call Earth chaotic. They forget chaos made us adaptive. Taral intends to provoke. I will not respond in kind. She paused, gazing at her reflection in the window. The faintest outline of a girl who carried the weight of a world that everyone feared, but no one understood. Control, she added. That's what they want to measure. They'll get their data. She closed the log and dimmed the lights. Next morning, she entered the training complex early. The arena was circular, ringed by mirrored walls hiding rows of observers. Platforms rose from the floor, each designed for different species' physiology. The smell of sterilized metal filled the air. Veldar oversaw preparations from the balcony. Today we measure precision, restraint, and composure. Cadet Hale, Cadet Taral, step forward. Mira took her position on the main platform. Across from her, Taral flexed his claws, confidence radiating from every motion. His scales shimmered like blood glass under the lights. This will be quick, he murmured. Then you'll have plenty of time to analyze the results, she replied. Veldar gestured, and holographic drones formed a circle around them, each projecting random motion patterns. Respond only when threatened, the instructor ordered. Excessive reaction counts as failure. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. The first drone darted toward Taral. His tail snapped, striking the light construct with a hiss. He moved again, too fast, striking a harmless signal. Failure, impulse override, Veldar noted calmly. Mira waited. A flicker approached her periphery. She pivoted, hand slicing through the air just enough to intercept the threat marker. Her pulse stayed level. Veldar's voice echoed. Noted. Minimal exertion. Continue. Taral snarled under his breath, overcorrecting with each motion. Sparks from the sensors flared around him. Mira ignored his presence, following rhythm, breath, distance. When the test ended, her readings glowed green. His red! The class above murmured. Veldar turned toward them. Results are clear. Yet tomorrow we extend to emotional provocation, verbal simulation. Taral's eyes narrowed. Permission to volunteer as provocateur, Veldar considered, then nodded. Granted. The Zephyri smiled slowly at Mira. Tomorrow, then, he said. She looked straight back. I'll be here. That night, Mira sat by the observation glass again, watching lightning veins crawl across Varix 9's atmosphere. Each flash reminded her of the storms that used to roll across the Mojave Desert, where the air smelled of ozone and dust, not sterilization. Her reflection stared back, eyes steady, heartbeat slow. Tomorrow's trial would not measure control. It would measure understanding, who truly knew what it meant to hold power and not use it. She whispered to the empty room. Let them laugh today. Tomorrow silence will teach. The planet below turned once more beneath the Academy, and the night swallowed the stars. The arena pulsed with faint light. From above, the viewing gallery resembled an inverted star field, rows of alien cadets glowing under pale glass. In the center, two figures stood on the smooth silver floor, one calm, one coiled tight. Mira Hale adjusted the gloves of her training suit. The sensors inside hummed as they linked to her neural feed. Across from her, Cadet Taral flexed his claws and rolled his shoulders, each motion deliberate, meant to draw attention. The Zephyri's crimson scales shimmered beneath the hovering lights, the smug line of his mouth betraying how certain he was of victory. Instructor Veldar's amplified voice echoed from the mezzanine. This exercise evaluates emotional regulation under provocation. No physical aggression permitted. Measured responses only. Taral's golden eyes glinted. Understood, instructor. Some of us are born with control. Mira didn't look at him. She exhaled once, steady. The faint vibration of the pulse sensors around the arena synchronized with her heartbeat. Flat, calm, human. Veldar raised a hand. Begin. The lights dimmed. The simulation field rippled alive, illusions conjured by the Academy's training AI. Shapes, sounds, and holographic triggers swirled around them, feeding directly into their senses. The objective was simple: endure provocation without reaction. Taral started the game early. He didn't move closer, but his voice slid through the stillness like a knife. Tell me, Deathworld girl, he said softly. Do you know how many species here voted against admitting your kind? 83. They called you unstable. I agreed. Mira's eyes tracked the floating data stream that recorded their readings. Her line remained level. His spiked faintly. He smirked. You hide it well, though. That twitch under your jaw, human rage, isn't it? Primitive. Her tone was almost polite. You talk a lot for someone being measured on restraint. A ripple of laughter drifted down from the observation deck. Taral took a slow step closer. You think silence makes you superior. But silence is fear. That's all humans have, fear turned inward. Maybe, she said. But fear's better company than arrogance. He clicked his claws together, mocking applause. A clever Deathworld quote. Do they teach you to speak like that before or after they teach you to kill? Mira didn't answer. The holographic illusions intensified. Screams echoed through the chamber, recordings from Earth's wars, repurposed by the simulator for psychological testing. A crude move. Even Veldar frowned slightly at the violation of neutrality. Taral noticed. He pressed harder. Recognize that sound, human? The chaos of your planet. The noise of your kind eating itself alive. You call it history. We call it evidence. The lights flickered red across Mira's face. She stood motionless, her shadow stretching toward him. Still calm? He taunted. Or remembering the smell of smoke? Her voice was quiet, flat. You shouldn't mention things you don't understand. Then enlighten me. Mira met his eyes fully now. Her tone didn't rise, but the translator rendered her next words with unsettling clarity. You mistake control for absence. That's your weakness. Ours is knowing exactly what we're capable of and choosing not to. Something shifted in the air. The arena's sensors picked up the minute electromagnetic flux between them. Taral sneered and activated his psychic interface, a Zephyri ability allowing limited empathic projection. His goal was to pierce her emotional wall and provoke a visible reaction. The moment the connection formed, everything inverted. Instead of the surge of human emotion he expected, his mind hit a wall of silence, vast, still, and cold. No fear, no fury, just presence. It was like staring into the quiet between thunder and lightning. He tried again, pushing deeper. The silence grew heavier. Then came a faint echo, heartbeat, slow and deliberate. It filled his skull, pulsing in sync with his own. He gasped, breaking concentration, but the feedback loop didn't end. The psychic field rebounded, amplifying his own projections until his nerves screamed under the pressure. From the mezzanine, Veldar shouted, Taral! Disengage the link, now! But it was too late. The air cracked like static. Taral dropped to his knees, hands clutching his throat. The translator attached to his collar sparked violently, flickering through random tones before going dead. His mouth opened, but no sound emerged. Not a cry, not even a breath of protest. Only silence. Mira knelt beside him, not in victory, but with a soldier's composure. She checked his vitals on the nearby panel, stable, conscious, terrified. Then, quietly, she spoke so only he could hear. You wanted to know what control looks like? This is it. She stood and faced the viewing gallery. Every cadet had fallen silent. Even the drones hovering in the air seemed frozen mid-cycle. The simulation field shut down, leaving the arena bathed in sterile white. Veldar descended slowly from the upper deck, his crystalline features unreadable. Cadet Hale, he said, voice precise. Explain what occurred. She clasped her hands behind her back. Cadet Taral initiated unauthorized psychic contact. Feedback collapsed his link. I did not engage. Veldar studied her for a long moment. Your readings indicate no neural spike, no aggression. Yet the Zephyri interface suffered a complete overload. Then his own mind fought him, Mira said simply. The instructor's glow dimmed slightly, an alien version of unease. You may return to your quarters. This incident will be reviewed. She nodded, saluted, and walked past the motionless crowd. No one dared meet her eyes. In the hallway outside, the sound of her boots echoed softly. She passed the reflection wall and saw herself, a calm figure framed by a silent corridor. Behind that reflection, a dozen species watched her retreat in hushed disbelief. Taral's stretcher floated by minutes later, medics surrounding him. His golden eyes were wide open, his mouth moving soundlessly. Mira didn't stop. She simply whispered as he passed, "Next time, listen before you speak." That night, she returned to her dorm and sat before the observation window. Varex 9 spun slowly beneath her, its storms glowing with faint electric light. She opened her log and recorded, "Trial concluded." Result, silence. The feedback wasn't intentional. He breached the boundary and met reflection, his own signal amplified. They'll analyze the data and pretend not to understand, but they'll remember what they saw. She paused, glancing at her hands. For the first time since arriving, they trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of what restraint could cost. She looked out into the void again. "They call us unstable," she murmured. "Maybe they're right. But if silence frightens them more than anger ever did, then maybe that's what the galaxy needed to hear." Beyond the glass, lightning forked across the planet's atmosphere. For a second, it illuminated her reflection, the faint curve of a human smile that wasn't victory, only understanding. Tomorrow, the Academy would convene its inquiry. Tonight, the station slept uneasy, haunted by the first human lesson it had truly learned. The following day began without morning light. On Varex 9, dawn was simulated, projected by luminous panels that never felt real. But the Academy wasn't interested in comfort. It wanted order, and after last night's incident, even the light felt cautious. Mira Hale sat at the edge of her bunk, uniform folded with mechanical precision. The walls around her pulsed faintly with soft blue alerts, inquiry pending. Restricted movement. Await council hearing. Her reflection on the metal surface looked detached. Calm eyes, slow breath, posture straight. She had slept barely. Dreams came in fragments. Taral's open mouth, no sound. The echo of silence that wasn't peace, but absence. At Oro 900, the door panel blinked green. 2 security drones hovered in the corridor, flanking Instructor Veldar. His crystalline form shimmered under the pale glow, face unreadable as always. "Cadet Hale," he said, "the council requires your testimony." Mira rose. Understood. As she followed him through the empty halls, the usual hum of conversation was gone. Even the air recyclers seemed quieter. The Academy's calm had always been artificial, but now it felt real, born not from discipline, but unease. They entered the hearing chamber, a circular room of transparent walls overlooking the planet below. 5 members of the Academic Council sat behind a curved console, each representing a different species. In the center stood a single platform, haloed by soft light. Veldar gestured. "Stand there, please." Mira stepped into the circle. The floor beneath her thrummed faintly, reading vitals, neural patterns, micro-expressions. She clasped her hands behind her back, posture steady. Counselor Threx, a scaled, silver-skinned being with a voice like gravel, spoke first. "Cadet Hale, you are aware of why you're here?" "Yes, Counselor." "Explain the events of the response trial in your own words." She met his gaze, not defiant, simply present. Cadet Taral initiated psychic contact without consent. His link rebounded. "I maintained composure throughout the incident." The feedback originated from his own interface. Another counselor, a serpentine Valori, tilted her head. "You're saying you did nothing to provoke or retaliate?" "Correct." A holographic recording appeared mid-air, projecting the event in vivid detail. The silence of the room deepened as they watched. Taral's mocking approach, Mira's stillness, the psychic flare, the moment of collapse. No aggression, no motion, only cause and consequence. When the footage ended, the Valori whispered, "Impossible. No unshielded mind can generate such resistance." Veldar folded his arms behind him. "Humans evolved under extreme environmental stress." "It is possible their neural structure—" "Possible?" Threx interrupted. "Or dangerous?" Mira stayed silent. A third voice entered, a low, resonant tone belonging to the council chair, an ancient creature of living stone. "Danger and discipline are not opposites," he said slowly. "This cadet displayed both." Threx scowled. "She crippled another student." "I didn't," Mira said quietly. He silenced himself. That sentence hung in the air like a suspended blade. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the chair nodded once. Inquiry closed. No disciplinary action. The file will remain sealed. Veldar's glow dimmed, a sign of relief. Council adjourned. Mira gave a curt nod and turned to leave. Outside the chamber, the academy corridors seemed brighter. The silence had changed tone, not fearful but respectful, almost reverent. Cadets who once smirked now moved aside wordlessly when she passed. Even the Zephyri kept their heads low. When she entered the observation deck, the glass dome displayed the planet's storms swirling far below, immense and slow, like thoughts too heavy to speak. Veldar joined her there, standing with arms folded. "You handled yourself with precision," he said. "I did what the situation required. You frightened them." She gave a faint smile. "I've noticed." He turned his crystalline face toward her. "You could have reacted. You didn't. That's what unsettles them. They expected fury. They found restraint. Restraint only looks calm from the outside," she said. "Inside, it's survival." Veldar studied her for a long moment. "You will remain here as an observer until further notice. No more trials. The Council will reconsider the integration program. So they'll pause humanity's admission? Temporarily." Mira nodded once. "That's fine. We've waited longer for less." When he left, she lingered, watching the storms turn. Lightning flared deep in the atmosphere, illuminating her reflection. Later that evening, she visited the infirmary. The medbay doors opened with a sterile hiss, releasing the scent of antiseptic and metal. Inside, Taral lay on an elevated platform surrounded by quiet monitors. His eyes tracked her instantly. The golden sheen had dulled. His expression was cautious, uncertain. She approached the edge of the platform. "How long?" The medic beside him replied, his vocal system's intact. The neural link isn't. "We don't know if speech will return." Mira nodded, then turned to Taral. He stared at her, unblinking. She spoke softly. "They'll call it an accident. You'll call it silence, but it wasn't punishment." It was reflection. "You saw what you projected." He tried to speak, air caught in his throat, soundless. His claws clenched once, then relaxed. For the first time, there was no arrogance in his gaze, only understanding. She leaned slightly closer. "You'll heal. And when you do, use your voice for something worth the noise." Then she left him there, surrounded by the faint hum of machines. That night, she returned to her dorm. The walls displayed a single message from the Academy network. Psych evaluation waived. Discharge approved upon request. She ignored it and opened her log. Day 48, the Council ruled no fault. They won't say it, but they've learned what they wanted, that fear isn't the only deterrent. Control is louder. I didn't break their system. I reminded them it can't define everyone by its own calm. She paused, glancing through the glass at the planet below. Varex 9's storms rolled endlessly, beautiful in their violence, yet contained. Her reflection looked back at her, same steady eyes, same human shape, and she realized she wasn't angry anymore. Not at Taral, not at the Academy. They had finally seen what humanity truly was. Not the chaos they feared, but the discipline that chaos had forced them to master. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. A transmission from Earth flickered on her terminal. It was a simple message from an old commander. "How's the Academy treating you?" Mira smiled faintly and typed her reply. "They're still learning what silence means." She sent the message and leaned back. The simulated lights dimmed around her, leaving only the faint glow of the planet. By the next morning, whispers had spread across the station. The Deathworld girl who didn't blink. Rumors traveled faster than fact, turning silence into legend. Instructors pretended not to notice. Cadets gave her wide berth. But every time a training session began, someone inevitably glanced at the empty arena and shuddered. The event became a lesson, unofficial, unrecorded, but impossible to forget. Every Academy graduate would remember the human who spoke little and taught them something their manuals couldn't. That real control doesn't silence danger. It teaches others to listen. Weeks later, when Mira finally stepped onto the transport vessel heading home, the stars beyond the viewport looked brighter, sharper. As the ship detached from orbit, she watched the Academy fade into a distant spark. She whispered, "Lesson complete." The engines ignited, and the Deathworld girl left the quiet station behind, taking with her a silence the galaxy would never forget. The shuttle descended through thin clouds, the blue curve of Earth rising beneath it like a heartbeat made visible. Mira Hale sat by the viewport, watching sunlight scatter across the ocean's surface. The familiar gravity tugged at her body, heavier than the artificial balance of orbit. She hadn't realized how much she'd missed that weight, how grounding it felt to be pulled toward something that was hers. Her leave from the Academy was labeled indefinite. The Council hadn't exiled her, but they hadn't invited her back either. Officially, she was on observational reassignment. Unofficially, she'd become a myth, the human who silenced a Zephyri. It wasn't a title she wanted, but she knew how stories worked. The galaxy would make one out of anything it feared enough to respect. When the shuttle landed at the Pacific Defense Hub, the air smelled of salt, ozone, and oil. A Terran officer waited at the docking bay, broad-shouldered, gray uniform, clipped posture. His name tag read Commander Ashwin Voss. "Mira Hale," he greeted, shaking her hand firmly. "You look calmer than the report suggested." "Reports exaggerate," she said. "Especially when written by frightened aliens," he chuckled softly. "Come on." The Council liaison's already waiting. They walked through the steel corridors, lined with flags of old Earth nations, now replaced by a single sigil, a silver planet wrapped in 3 rings, the emblem of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. Humans were still newcomers to the Galactic Council, still on probation. Every step Mira took echoed with the weight of that probation. Inside the debriefing room, a holographic table displayed her file. Cadet Hale Mira, Terran Representative. Status: under review. Standing beside the console was a woman in a dark gray suit, sharp eyes, calm voice. "Director Solon," she introduced herself. "Council sent word. They're curious. Curious or cautious?" Mira asked. Solon's mouth twitched. "Both. Your display at the Academy caused division. Some species want you banned. Others want you studied. And a few," she tapped the screen, "think humans should train Council operatives in restraint." "That's ironic," Mira said. "They called us dangerous last month." "They still do," Solon replied. "They're just starting to realize that danger and discipline might coexist." Commander Voss folded his arms. Word from Varex 9 spread faster than the official transcript. "Half the cadets think you used psychic warfare." "I didn't," Mira said plainly. "He tore his own mind open trying to control mine." "That's not the story they're telling," Solon said. "Which is why the Council wants a hearing on Earth. Public, symbolic." Mira frowned. "You want me to stand trial for not fighting back?" Solon's gaze softened just slightly. "They need reassurance. And you're the only one who can give it without weapons." Mira hesitated. "So I'll be the example again." Voss smiled faintly. "The galaxy listens louder when it's afraid. Make it listen right." The hearing took place 3 days later in Geneva's Orbital Hall, a crystalline dome suspended over the city's spire. Representatives of 12 species attended, their forms projected in shimmering detail. Cameras recorded every breath, every silence. Mira stood at the central podium. No shackles, no guards, just light and scrutiny. Counselor Threx appeared first among the holograms. His silver-scaled face was sharper than she remembered. "Cadet Hale," he began, "you claim the incident aboard the Academy was self-defense. Yet the result was excessive." "I didn't harm him," Mira said evenly. "I stopped him from entering a place he had no right to be." Threx's jaw tightened. "You silenced him permanently." "I didn't silence him," she corrected. "He did." A murmur spread across the chamber. The council chair, the ancient stone being, spoke next. "Explain what you mean." Mira clasped her hands behind her back, meeting every gaze without flinching. "The Zephyri used psychic contact as dominance." When Taral forced the link, he met resistance. His own reflection amplified. "Human minds evolved surrounded by noise, chaos, danger. Our control isn't calm. It's forged under pressure. When he touched that silence, it broke him. Not because of what he found, but because he didn't understand it." For a moment, no one spoke. Even the translators hesitated, trying to capture the weight behind her words. Threx leaned forward. "Are you saying the human mind is a weapon?" Mira's tone stayed steady. "No, I'm saying it's a boundary," the council murmured again, softer now. Solon watched from the side, expression unreadable. The Valori delegate, her serpentine form coiled elegantly, spoke next. "If humans possess such resilience, what stops that silence from turning outward? From becoming aggression?" "Choice," Mira said. "Every species learns to survive its world. Ours demanded control. We didn't build peace because we were gentle. We built it because we had to." The chair's eyes glowed faintly, a sign of thought. "And what lesson do you believe your kind brings to the council, Cadet Hale?" Mira took a slow breath. "That peace isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act with it, not against it. You called us unstable, but we've lived with instability longer than most civilizations have existed. We learned to breathe through chaos. That's not instability. That's adaptation." Silence filled the dome, deep and absolute. The kind that didn't threaten. It listened. Finally, the chair said, "The council will deliberate." The holograms faded, leaving her alone under the dome's quiet light. Solon approached, hands clasped behind her back. "You just made history without raising your voice." "I didn't come to make history," Mira said. "I came to tell the truth." "Truth doesn't travel alone," Solon said. "It always drags change with it." Weeks passed. The official verdict arrived through encrypted channels, no violation. Human Integration Program, continued with supervision. Mira returned to the Terran facility on the coast. Training resumed, joint exercises, simulated diplomacy sessions, translation drills. She didn't seek attention, but it found her anyway. Cadets from different worlds began requesting human instructors. The phrase "controlled silence" entered the Academy lexicon. What had once been fear turned into study. One evening, as she stood watching the sunset bleed into the Pacific, Commander Voss joined her. "You changed more minds than any weapon we've built," he said. "I just stopped defending myself long enough for them to see what defense looks like." He smiled. "You planning to return to Varix 9? "Eventually," she said. "Not to prove anything. Just to finish what I started." "And what's that?" She looked at the horizon. "Understanding." Later that night, she opened a private message from the Academy. It was short, unsigned, encrypted. The silence remains. "But I listen differently now." No name, but she didn't need one. Mira closed the message and leaned back in her chair. The night outside was filled with human noise. Waves, wind, distant engines. All chaotic, all alive. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to smile fully. The galaxy had labeled humanity dangerous, unpredictable, untamable. Maybe it was right. But now it also knew something else. That in the stillness between fear and control, the human mind didn't break. It taught. She switched off the lights, leaving the room in shadow. Outside, thunder rolled far out over the ocean. It sounded like a heartbeat. Tomorrow she would return to the stars. Not as a cadet, not as a curiosity, but as proof that even Deathworlders could teach peace, one silence at a time.